What if you could understand a revolution not through its battles, but through its books? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going inside the personal library of one of the 20th century's most consequential leaders, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, to discover the very ideas that built a nation.
I mean, just imagine mapping the mind of a nation builder, not through their speeches, but through their actual bookshelf. That's exactly what this incredible project set out to do. They cataloged thousands of books that Atatürk didn't just own. He read them, he underlined them, he annotated them, he even argued with them in the margins.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the library itself as a kind of workshop. Then, we'll see how he used books to forge a completely new national identity and design a modern state. We'll also dive into his exploration of the complex dance between reason and faith. And finally, we'll see how he turned all that reading into revolutionary action.
Okay, first things first, you've got to understand this wasn't some static collection of books meant to impress visitors. No way. For Atatürk, this was a dynamic, active workshop. This was where the blueprints for the new Turkish Republic were actually being drafted and debated. The scholars behind this whole project really put it best. Their goal was to trace the intellectual DNA of his reforms by seeing exactly which thinkers and which ideas he was engaging with. You see, it wasn't just about what he read. It was about how he thought.
So where do you even begin a project that big? Well, one of his first and most fundamental tasks was defining what it even meant to be Turkish in a new, modern world. And for that, he went right back to the basics: history and language.
He was reading books just like this one, Small Turkish Studies, digging into the deep history and the roots of Turkish culture long before the Ottoman Empire ever existed. He was searching for a foundation, a shared story that could unite people under a new national identity, one that was totally separate from the old imperial one.
And this right here, wow, this brilliantly shows you the sheer scale of the change. Up top, you've got the old Arabic-based Ottoman script, and right below it, the modern Latin-based Turkish alphabet. This one page captures the massive linguistic revolution he was both studying and leading. Think about that for a second. This shift made literacy accessible to so many more people, almost instantly. But it also created a kind of cultural firewall, separating a new generation from the massive body of Ottoman literature. It was a radical, calculated move to completely reorient an entire culture.
But, reshaping a nation's identity with language and history, that was only half the battle. To make that new identity stick, he needed to build a durable political structure, a house for it to live in. So, how do you build a republic from the ground up? Simple. You study the architects who came before you.
And he went straight to the heavyweights of the Enlightenment. Right here in his hands, we find a Turkish translation of Montesquieu's The Spirit of the Laws, which is one of the most important books on modern government ever written.
And this is the core concept he was really zeroing in on, the separation of powers. This idea, which Montesquieu championed, was a total rejection of the old system, where all power, political, military, and religious, was concentrated in the hands of one person, the Sultan. For Atatürk, this wasn't just some abstract theory. It was the essential blueprint for a state that could never slide back into autocracy.
And just look at this. We can literally see him thinking on the page. His pencil marks, his notes in the margins, they show him grappling with these huge concepts like natural law and human instinct. He wasn't just reading it. He was dissecting it, questioning it, absorbing it.
So here's the crucial point. His reading directly led to this seismic shift. He was moving his country from a system based on the absolute power of one man to a republic founded on the power of the people, the rule of law, and a secular constitution. All of these ideas he found and he studied right on these pages.
But here's what's so fascinating. He didn't just pick one philosophy and stick with it. His library shows this incredible intellectual curiosity. He's reading about French capitalism, sure, but he's also reading about socialism and workers' movements. Why? Because he wasn't just trying to copy and paste a pre-made model. He was exploring the whole spectrum of ideas to figure out the unique path that would actually work for the new Turkey.
And that brings us to what is maybe the most debated and complex part of his entire intellectual project, figuring out the role of religion in this new republic. And his library shows that he approached this not with dogma, but with this intense, wide-ranging curiosity. To understand religion, he went straight to the source. On his shelves, you find Turkish translations of both the Quran and the Bible. This direct engagement was absolutely crucial. By making sure people could access holy texts in their own language, he was basically undermining the monopoly a clerical class had on interpretation, and he was promoting a more personal,
individual understanding of faith. And then, check this out. In this brilliant move, he read those religious texts right alongside works of secular philosophy. He had books with titles that translate to No Religion, There Is Nation, and a translation of the French rationalist text, Common Sense. He was literally putting these powerful, often conflicting ideas into a direct conversation with each other right there on his bookshelf.
When you step back and look at this vast collection, what you really see is a mind wrestling with a timeless question. He wasn't just trying to import some foreign model of secularism. No, he was conducting a deep, personal investigation to forge a uniquely Turkish balance between faith, science, and the identity of a modern nation.
So this is the ultimate question, right? How does a person go from just underlining books in a library to fundamentally reshaping an entire country in just a few years? Well, this final section of his library gives us the answer.
See, he was never a passive reader. He was an architect. Look at his intense markings on this text about constitutional law. He's not just highlighting interesting parts. He is actively pulling out the principles, looking for the load-bearing walls he's going to use to build a whole new legal framework for the Republic.
You can almost boil his whole process down into these 4 steps. First, he inquired broadly. He read everything. Second, he questioned critically, covering pages with his own notes. Third, he synthesized all these diverse ideas into his own unique vision for Turkey. And finally, and this is the key, he acted decisively, turning those intellectual blueprints into reality. In the end, this journey through Ataturk's library is so much more than a history lesson. It's a powerful reminder that ideas really do have consequences, that reading is an act of creation, and that the future of a nation can sometimes be found quietly waiting on a leader's bookshelf. It leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? What are the books that are building the world of tomorrow?